Are you getting caught up in the latest health trends and feeling overwhelmed as to what diet is best? We get it, and that's why, as leaders of wellness in our community, Joanne's Place Health Foods has created the Wellness on Purpose podcast. On this podcast, you can expect community and brand experts to share impactful, educational, and realistic information to help you progress on your journey to live wellness on purpose now and for future generations. My name is Marissa Laughlin. I'm a holistic nutritionist in partnership with Joanne's Place and your host for this podcast. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. It's your host, Marissa, and we are rolling into season 4 of the podcast. I can't believe that we have gone through 4 seasons together, and I'm really looking forward to continuing to help you along your wellness journey this year. Now, I couldn't do this podcast without the help of some incredible experts, and I can't wait to share with you the lineup we have this year. For our first episode of 2022, we're going to be chatting all about adaptogens over alcohol. Now, a quick personal backstory about myself is I decided on January 2nd of 2021 that I was going to try to live life without alcohol. What I expected to be a dry January turned into actually a full year of living life without alcohol. This honestly was one of the best decisions I have ever made for my mental health to this day. Now, I wouldn't have made it through this past year without the help of my friends at Kite, which is why I've asked the founders, Michelle and Claudia, to join us on the podcast today. So join me in welcoming Michelle and Claudia from Kite onto the podcast. Good morning, Michelle and Claudia. Welcome to the podcast. How are you both doing today?
Doing great, thank you. Thanks so much for having us today.
Doing fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so we are going to jump right into talking to you both today. I really want to give our listeners a rundown about who both of you are, also Kite as a company. So how about Michelle? Did you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So my name is Michelle Termandi. I'm actually a holistic nutritionist by trade. I'm the co-founder of Kite along with Claudia. I'll let her speak a little to her background as well next. But my interest and passion in adaptogens and herbs and plants and sort of all things well-being really sort of kicked off our mission with Kite, which is to help people to use plants and plant wisdom to increase their balance and well-being. Claudia, I'll let her speak for herself, but we were friends before this started and we shared a lot of interests. And I'll just pass it over to you, Claudia.
Hi, I'm Claudia Marion, and although I don't like being boxed in, I've been called a serial entrepreneur quite a bit. Kite is one of the ventures that I've been part of. It's my passion. It involves my passion, I should say, which is tea. I have had tea companies in Europe. I have a brand for moms and babies here in Canada. Really love cafe culture, herbs. Yeah, that's who I am. A brand builder, it seems.
Amazing. So that's the perfect duo, the nutritionist side, the love of herbs, and also the love and passion for tea and cafe feels. So I love that. So the two of you have created a brand called Kite. I would love our podcast listeners to know more about the brand. So can you share with them what Kite is, who they are, and what they stand for?
Sure. I'll kick it off and then I'll let Claudia kind of fill in all the gaps. So we make something called Kite Sparkling Adaptogenic Tea. So what we're actually doing is we're taking whole plants, roots, stems, leaves, different parts of the plants, and we're actually creating what we call a tea infusion. So we allow the tea to steep, similar to the way that you would do with a cup of tea, for several hours, anywhere between 8 to 12 hours. And what that does is it allows all of the constituents and the energetics and the amino acids and sort of all the good things that you find in the plants and the herbs to come out into the water, into the tea. And then we add a flavor extract and carbonate that. So that's sort of the product side of what we're doing. And Kite as a brand is really all about using the power of plants and we call it the wisdom of plants to help people to bring about more balance and well-being into their life. We know, ourselves included, everybody's very stressed out, everybody's exhausted, there's way too much screen time and disconnection from ourselves and sort of our social circles, especially at this time. And so Kite is really all about encouraging and inspiring people to take a sip of these adaptogenic teas to come back to center. We talk a lot about time to unwind. That's actually the name of our company. And it's really about using those adaptogens and that plant wisdom to kind of come back into center. Claudia, do you want to talk a little bit more about the brand that maybe I missed out on?
Yeah, I'll just say that we've been asked a number of times, why kite? What does it stand for? And kite is really very much connected to the metaphor of the unwind, as Michelle just mentioned, time to unwind. And the unwind is actually the kite string. So, that big knot is you are the kite, and that unwind that you need to do is towards letting the kite fly, letting it find its balance and be one with, the elements. So that's really what kite is about. It's not the high as a kite. It is literally being balanced in yourself and one with your environment.
I love that connection to an actual kite. That is so amazing. So thought out in the entire brand, which is awesome. So, as I mentioned already, I'm obsessed with kite. I'm obsessed with anything to do with an adaptogen. But there's a lot of people out there who may be missing out on, I think, the secrets of what adaptogens can do for your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. So, for those people who may not know about adaptogens, can you explain what they are and why they are a part of your tea blends?
Essentially, adaptogens are a class of plants. So of course we know there's, so many different kinds of teas, there's so many different kinds of plants, so many different kinds of herbs. And adaptogens are a very, very specific set out class of these plants that have very specific properties that help to bring the body back into a state of balance. So working on different systems in the body, the endocrine system, the immune system, the digestive system, the nervous system, the adaptogens, when you ingest them, and you can take them in many different forms. So, we're using a format of a tea infusion, but you can also take, tinctures and foods, spices, capsules, all sorts of things like that. But when you take them into your body, the idea is that your body actually works with the different compounds and energetics of the plants to bring you back into a more calm state of balance. So there's so many different things that the adaptogens have. They can have, antioxidant actions, anti-inflammatory actions, anti-fatigue and energy boosting actions. They can help with mood. They can help with cognitive function. They can help to balance hormones. So there's sort of this grab bag of very specific plants that have these amazing qualities, and they've actually been used for thousands of years in Ayurveda and also in traditional Chinese medicine. So we're hearing a lot of buzzworthiness or people talking about adaptogens now, but this is not just sort of like a latest fad. This is something that's been around for thousands and thousands of years, and used in select cultures for very specific purposes, and that the plants are generally considered safe. They have sort of a qualities. There's three specific qualities that really sort of come together to define an actual plant as an adaptogen, or a fungus. I should say mushrooms are also included under this category. They have to be non-toxic. So they have to have no negative side effects to your mind or to your body. They produce what's called a non-specific response into the body. So they help to increase resistance to stress of all different kinds. And stress isn't always necessarily that thing that we think of as stress. It could be, environmental stress or emotional stress. It could also be physical stress. Getting some kind of virus or something like that is actually considered a stress to the body. So it helps decrease the sensitivity to that and to increase the resistance and provide a defense. And then it also has what I was speaking to before, a normalizing influence on the regulatory systems in the body. So it's really just trying to bring your body back into a state of homeostasis. And this is why adaptogens can get a little bit confusing, because different people could have different responses to different adaptogens based on what their body actually needs in order to come back into balance. So they're really intelligent plants. They're really cool. We've loved them for a long time and we've been using them for a long time, and also just happy to see other people are sort of tuning into that. They're sort of having a moment right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's so unique and cool about these types of plant medicines is It's exactly what they're called. They help your body adapt to what it needs. So even like one day it might need something more or something less the next day, just depending on really what your environment is around you internally. So they're just very, very unique and amazing. So Kite has 3 adaptogenic beverages. Can we break down each product and talk about what adaptogens are in each formulation and their medicinal health benefits?
We have 3 blends. So Rise is the blend that we most often see people using in a way to sort of kick off their day or to just have sort of generally any time of day. I'll also state that all 3 can be taken at any time, pretty much in any quantity. So we're not specifically stating that each of the 3 blends, Rise, Align, and Unwind, have to be consumed at any particular point. But based on what we've seen people use, and we get a lot of people sort of capturing themselves on Instagram or telling us stories about when they use each product, we've sort of associated the function with a certain time of day or a certain activity. So I'll talk a little bit to that because it was a little bit interesting sort of kicking off a brand and then having your customers actually tell you what's up. You think something might be a certain way, and then seeing them come back to you with what they're actually using for is really, really quite interesting. So again, Rise is our lemon flavor. It's lemon moringa. And this one includes moringa. It's got so many different qualities. It's a plant. Moringa is a plant or an adaptogen that's been used for over 3,000 years. It's known for anything from, like Claudia mentioned, lactation to healthy skin, mental alertness, general well-being. And it's often compared to like greens, like kale or like super greens, spinach. And the reason for that is because it's so nutritive. So it's got over 90 nutrients and 46 antioxidants in it. So you can imagine that when you're actually drinking moringa tea, it's almost like something that's really nourishing to your body. So all 3 of the blends do contain some level of moringa. And we just loved it for that reason. It just gives all 3 of the teas a really nice base, and it's a really nutritive, like nourishing formula. So the second one is called Align. So this is our pink one. It's called Tulsi Hibiscus Align. And the sort of the headlining adaptogen in this one is the Tulsi, which is also known as holy basil. So this is something that's been referred to as the elixir of life. It's very soothing. It's very good for balancing the mind and the spirit. It has a lot of actual spiritual properties to it as well. So we usually see people drinking this one when they're just looking to get calm. We joke about it and call it the liquid yoga or the yoga in a can. So it's very much a soothing beverage. And then the last one was our most popular of the 3 is Unwind, and it's ashwagandha orange unwind. And maybe it's the most popular because I think we all could use for a little more unwinding over the last couple of years. But this one also has what we know is a really popular adaptogen, which is the ashwagandha. And the ashwagandha, it's also known as Indian ginseng. It's really supportive to the nervous system. It's actually a root. It's like a pungent taste to it. But, sometimes the things that have that taste, like they really, really get down into your core, into your root, and can help to nourish you as well. So it's very, very calming and restorative. So that's sort of the long-winded answer to the 3 of them. But the Unwind is the one that we see most people are using as a replacement to alcohol.
Are there any non-medicinal ingredients or fillers that our listeners may want to be aware of in these products?
Yeah, good question. So we're pretty particular. I mean, Claudia and I both have a very strong background in sort of health and wellness. As you know, I'm a nutritionist, and Claudia is also very, very lifestyle oriented in terms of health and wellness. And when we made this product, we were very careful in terms of what was included and what wasn't. Made for a much more difficult R&D process. But essentially, the only thing that you're going to get in Kite is the teas, which are the actual roots, the leaves, like we're taking the real teas and making it into, the real plants and making it into a tea. We add a flavor extract. So we're also so careful, even in terms of using flavor extracts versus natural flavors. We didn't want something that was made in a lab. We wanted something that was as close to the natural form as possible. And you can really taste that in the flavors. They taste exactly like an orange or a lemon or hibiscus. And then the only thing you'll also find is citric acid, which is an acidifier. You'd also find it in lemon juice. And that just helps us to make sure that everything is stable in terms of the product being safe and consumable for over a period of time. So I guess the long-winded answer for a very simple question, no, we don't include any fillers or anything like that. And we feel, really good about them because, like I said, we're using the real plants. This is equivalent to drinking a cup of steeped tea. We drink them, we give them to our kids. I'm breastfeeding, took them while pregnant. Claudia's got a 7-year-old drinking them. I've got a 5-year-old drinking them. So we feel pretty good about them.
So safe for pretty much everybody. If you are drinking them, your children are drinking them, is there anyone that should be aware of maybe refraining from consuming them, or is it okay for anyone to take it?
So our general sort of default answer is that we always say that you should be checking with your healthcare professional, just to be on the safe side. We're not here to tell anyone specifics in terms of what else is going on with their life. And then that said, interestingly, in many other cultures and many other parts of the world, as Claudia already noted, moringa is something that's been used for lactation for thousands of years. In India, they're using ashwagandha in children. So there is sort of different cultural views. From my personal experience, like I was saying, I feel comfortable taking them, while breastfeeding. But we always, again, do refer back to your own primary healthcare provider, just, knowing your own situation. Any comments on that, Claudia? I think you agree with that?
No, I agree with what Michelle has said. If there is anything, if you've had your doctor tell you, hey, you have to stay away from moringa, then you definitely shouldn't be having our product. But I think that's pretty rare. And, the irony of this kind of what the conversation we're having right now is probably almost everything on on a lot of products that are out there by the Coke and Pepsis in the world. Would be like a no-no from your doctor perspective, but we don't have any of those, and we are making a very unique unique product, but we've been very cautious in setting up our formulas. That it's not like you're taking I guess like nettle would be an example, or raspberry leaf, where some people might have a reaction if they're getting way too much iron from a product. We balanced all of our formulas so much that they're light, they're effervescent, and they're functional, and they're not too forward on any one item. There's about 1.5 grams of tea per serving. So if you're being told not to have a tea bag of any tea, then just check the label, that's for sure. But otherwise, it's pretty safe.
Awesome. So a little backstory about how I discovered Kite. So it was actually in the summer, and I was 6 months into living life without alcohol. And I was starting to find it a little bit challenging in the summertime because I'm out on the water a lot. I'm at like campfires. And I just found it a little bit hard to navigate a social life when everybody else was drinking. So Kite came available at Joanne's Place, and I had one and thought, wow, this is so delicious. It's so refreshing. I've tried a lot of functional beverages, and a lot of them are too overpowering in terms of like stevia or the natural flavors. They're just very, very strong. But when I found Kite, I just absolutely loved how light and refreshing it was. So I just started to have those in replacement. And then the coolest part about that was not only did that urge of wanting to have alcohol go away, it started opening up the conversation with a lot of people that were around me. And honestly, I just celebrated 1 year living life without alcohol. And my biggest take back from this was opening this conversation with people and talking about the experience of giving up alcohol. And anyways, throughout the summer, what ended up happening was more and more people that were around me wanted to try this Kite product, which was amazing. And it was so inspiring. So when you started Kite, what was your intention with this product? Like, did you ever see this being a replacement for alcohol? Or was your focus mainly on the benefits of just adaptogens and getting them into the hands of people to support their health?
Fabulous question. When we started Kite at the end of 2018, we didn't go into it leaning into sober curious, and it's really fascinating. It's very much leaned into Kite because of the functionality that we've put into our product. I'll let Michelle continue on that line.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can't believe when you said 2018. Yes. So we've been working on this. It's already 2022. My mind is just being blown as I'm speaking here. So, yeah, we started this project having a particular love for plants and teas and herbs and adaptogens, I guess, for a very long time. And we were looking into the CBD space before CBD was really a thing. Now it's really common and sort of everyone knows what it was. But we were in California and we were looking on the shelves and everything was CBD. And we were talking about cannabis. And at that time, sort of cannabis was this up and coming world of its own in Canada. And we had an interest in CBD, tried CBD, used CBD. We really loved that it was something that wouldn't necessarily mess with your head, but would allow you to bring yourself back into balance, so to speak. But we were also using a lot of adaptogenic herbs and sort of finding the same thing. So we decided to go down that route using functional qualities of plants. So in answer to the question, it wasn't something we totally set out to do. The idea was more about what kind of product can we create that is in a form factor, something that's easy, something that people don't feel like they're taking, a bunch of supplements or powders or whatever, and something that is borderline familiar, which is a sparkling tea, but doesn't have a bunch of sugar and doesn't have a bunch of sort of, garbage in it. So really the answer is no, we didn't start out looking for something totally sober curious. It was something on our mind and it was something that we were both interested in and naturally dabbling towards. But I will say that having launched the product and then again, coming back to that consumer feedback and seeing what people are actually doing with the product, because it isn't always what you expect it to do, we sort of thought they would be doing something very specific with it. And we're seeing so many posts come to us on social media and people telling stories about how they, pour themselves a glass of wine and have a bath. Or like you were just saying, congratulations on your 1 year, by the way. That's amazing. But, bringing it to parties with them in place of a 6-pack or coolers or, a bottle of wine. So when we saw that, we were like, this is amazing because it was something that we were also interested in dabbling in ourselves. And it just sort of filled another need. So we're starting to have more and more of that conversation with our customers now, also, especially considering it's dry January and we're seeing a lot of that. And we're getting a great response from it. So we're really excited that people are going down that route and seeing sort of what life is like on the other side of alcohol, because we're all about connection. We're all about sort of authenticity and getting to know ourselves better. And what better than becoming more sober curious than to allow for that, self-exploration.
Michelle and I both, we're not, I don't think we've ever been, I can say that for myself anyway, soft drink consumers. So when we were looking at the beverage space, we thought, well, not being consumers of soft drinks, like there was nothing on the shelves. There's water on the shelves at that point. And certainly kombucha was coming up, but there was very, very little in the space that didn't have caffeine in it or didn't have sugars in it, and it just was pure and spoke for a pure, unadulterated, and speaking for itself, with that functionality that Kite has. So we very much, in many ways, made a product like one of the few products that we would enjoy ourselves. To us, it was white space, and when we actually started working on adaptogens, nobody knew what we were talking about. Like everybody was speaking the CBD language, and we were saying, "Oh, we're doing an adaptogenic beverage." And even through our packaging iterations, you see as going into like 2019, nobody knew what we were talking about. 2018, of course, nobody knew what we were talking about, and then into the start of the 2020, going toward the pandemic, everything changed. And of course, as at that time, people looking for healthier options, people staying home, the overconsumption of alcohol during that time and that are those early days, and the frustration. I mean, the amount of wine memes that have hit my inbox in the past 2 years is like phenomenal. It was not so intentional, but it was kind of the perfect fit in 2020, and part of that was the functionality and the health focus, the nutritional focus, people having more time, and then that step back and saying, hey, like, what am I really putting in in my body? You can only have it's one thing to have a couple of 3 cups of coffee at the office, but if you do that in your home environment and you've got a homeschooler sitting next to you, which I do and Michelle does, you can't do that. It's you just can't do that. So you have to kind of figure out that unwind, and ergo there's Kite.
I think that you guys launched Kite and these products at the perfect time and have helped so many people. So I want to thank you so much for being a part of my journey, being able to share this with so many other people. It's been really inspiring, and I'm just absolutely grateful for Kite. But what I want to know, and what our listeners are definitely going to want to know, is what is next for Kite? Are there any other creations in the process right now, or what can we look out for in the future?
Another great question. We are looking at this point to fill out our product offering, to kind of tweak our seasonality, just different form factors. But Michelle, expand on this as well, of course.
Michelle? Sure, yeah. So of course we're always going to keep our beloved Kite on the shelves, but we'll leave it at, we're looking to expand to something warmer for the colder seasons. So we're really focused on, coming back to our mission, which is using the plant wisdom to help bring about more balance and well-being. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to wink what we're coming up with next and what we're working on. And then we're also looking to fill out our pink, orange, and yellow with a few more colors for the summer as well. So it's the super fun part. It's the part that we love the most, is coming up with the formulations. But we're still in startup mode. So we're really like, every penny matters, and we're just like growing one step at a time. It's frustrating because we want to do everything at once, but yes. So within the next few months, there should be some announcements made about what's coming down the pipe.
Awesome. Well, I know myself and a lot of people who are using the Kite beverages and our listeners will definitely be looking forward to that. So to all of our listeners, be sure to follow Kite on social media, because I'm sure that's where they're going to be releasing all of their new products that will potentially be released in the near future. They also have a very beautiful aesthetic Instagram, and they post lots of great recipes. So be sure to follow them on social media. And I want to thank you both, Michelle and Claudia, for joining me today to take the time to chat about Kite and also about all of the amazing benefits to the beverages that you guys have created. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so grateful. And thanks to everyone listening. Take care.
Thank you, Marissa.
Thanks again, Claudia and Michelle, for joining us on the podcast, and also for creating such an incredible product to support so many people along their wellness journey. If you guys are still here, thank you so much for checking out today's episode. You know what to do now. Be sure to subscribe to our channels so you're notified as soon as a new episode is released. And also find us on social media and share that you are listening to the Wellness on Purpose podcast.